The Whisper House. The first time I entered the house, I thought it was just another neighborhood curiosity, one of those old, dilapidated buildings that everyone in the neighborhood had a story about, but no one dared to get close to. It stood on the edge of the cul-de-sac at the very end of my street and was abandoned for as long as I could remember. No one had lived there for years, but there was always this feeling when you passed by it, this sense that something was waiting inside. I had heard the rumors growing up. People have disappeared in that house, my mother used to say. People go in and never come out. But it was just an old house. Old houses often had strange stories attached to them. Who was to say they were true? One afternoon, on a dare from Greg, one of my friends from the block, I found myself standing in front of that house. We'd gathered a group of us, a mix of thrill-seekers and skeptics. Everyone was telling stories about the house, but no one was brave enough to get too close. That was until Greg pushed the group into a bet. Whoever spent the most time inside the house would win $100. It was supposed to be an easy dare, a few minutes of standing around, poking through the rotting floorboards, and then out. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The air felt thicker, the silence unnaturally heavy. The house was filled with that familiar smell of decay, but there was something else too. Something cold. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. "Guys," I whispered, but my voice seemed muffled by the house itself. "Something feels off in here." Greg and the others laughed it off. "Just your imagination, you're just scared, man." But they were wrong. As I moved deeper into the house, I started to hear things. Soft whispers. I couldn't make out the words, but they were there. Faint at first, like a faint breeze brushing against your ear. Then a shadow shifted across the far wall. I turned, but no one was there. Then came the smell again. Faint at first, like something burning. But it wasn't just a smell. It felt like a presence. Something was in the house. And as I stood there, rooted in place, I had this intense sinking feeling that I had been here before, that something was waiting for me. Greg's voice broke through my thoughts. "All right, enough of this. You're getting freaked out. Let's head back." But as I turned to follow him, I noticed something strange. The door that I had entered through was no longer there. I glanced around. The house didn't seem to have a single corner or angle that looked the same. The hallway I had entered through had vanished, replaced by another, longer one that I had never seen. I called out, but my voice sounded far away. I was no longer sure where Greg or anyone else had gone. I was alone. Completely alone. I took a few steps forward, hoping to find an exit. But the deeper I went, the more disoriented I became. The whispers were louder now, echoing off the walls. They didn't sound like wind anymore. They sounded like voices, as though the house itself was alive, breathing, speaking in tongues. A cold draft brushed against my skin, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. Just more of the winding, disorienting hallway. I moved slowly, every instinct telling me to turn back, to run. But something in the pit of my stomach kept me moving forward. I couldn't say why. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was something deeper, something the house wanted me to feel, like it was calling me. The next room I entered felt like the rest of the house, dark, unsettling. But there was something different about it. A heavy, oppressive energy hung in the air. There were no windows, just a single dim light bulb hanging from the ceiling. I stepped into the room and the door slammed shut behind me, making me jump. I turned around quickly, hoping to escape, but the door was gone, completely gone. The walls around me closed in. I was trapped. Suddenly, I heard it, a sound distant at first, but growing louder, like someone was dragging something across the floor. I froze, listening, but no one appeared. The noise stopped, and that's when I saw it. The woman. A figure standing in the corner, facing away from me. She wore a dark dress, tattered and worn, and her long hair fell around her face. She didn't move, but something about her made my blood run cold. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I don't know how long I stood there staring at her, but the moment I stepped forward, she turned. Her face was pale, expressionless. Her eyes were dark, hollow, and she smiled. Not a kind smile, but a twisted, unsettling grin that stretched too wide across her face. Before I could react, the house seemed to come alive again. The walls trembled, the floors groaned. The woman opened her mouth, but instead of a scream, only a soft, distorted whisper filled the room. I didn't wait to hear more. I ran. I don't remember much of what happened after that. My mind blanks out around the next few hours. Or was it minutes? I had lost all sense of time inside the house. All I remember is running through the endless twisting hallways, through rooms that appeared and vanished as though the house was playing with me. I didn't know if anyone else was still there, if Greg or the others had heard my screams. I didn't know if I was running deeper into the house or just going in circles. The shadows seemed to stretch forever, and the whispers followed me, growing louder, filling my mind with voices I didn't recognize. "Stay," one of them whispered. I turned a corner, desperately looking for an exit, and that's when I saw it. The door. The same one I had come through earlier. I rushed toward it, not even thinking. My fingers were shaking as I reached for the handle, but as soon as I touched it, it vanished. It wasn't just the door that disappeared, it was the entire room. The walls melted away, leaving me standing in an open void. I couldn't see the ground beneath me, couldn't feel the air around me. I was floating in darkness, but I wasn't alone. I could feel the presence behind me. Someone was standing there, waiting. I dared not turn around, but I felt their eyes, like invisible fingers crawling down my spine. The whispers were overwhelming now. They were all around me. Every inch of space was filled with them. And then, just as suddenly as the room had vanished, the walls returned. But they weren't the same. They were distorted, like a funhouse mirror, twisting and bending. I looked down to see the floor beneath me, but it wasn't solid. It was shifting like the house itself was breathing beneath my feet. I couldn't escape. I was in it now. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. The air around me felt thick and suffocating. Every inch of the house seemed to pulsate with energy, like something alive was watching me from the walls. I wanted to scream, but my voice was lost, absorbed by the suffocating silence that surrounded me. That's when I saw the hallway. It stretched out in front of me, darker than before. The walls, which had shifted and changed as I'd explored, now seemed to be solidifying, locking me in. I moved down the hallway, desperate to find some way out, but as I walked, the temperature dropped. It became unnaturally cold, as if the very air was freezing around me. Every breath I took formed a thick cloud in the air. The whispers returned, now clearer, more insistent. They seemed to come from all directions. Some were unintelligible, but others were familiar. I heard Greg's voice, faint but unmistakable. "Why didn't you help me?" he whispered. My stomach turned. I tried to run again, but the hallway stretched on and on, twisting into infinite darkness. The air grew colder, and I felt a chill creeping into my bones. The whispering grew louder. More voices joined in. I tried to block them out, but the voices didn't stop. They overwhelmed me. Every step I took seemed to carry me deeper into the house, and I realized with a sickening feeling that the house was alive, a sentient force that fed on the fear and confusion of those who entered. There was no way out. Hours, or maybe days, passed as I wandered through the house. The passages seemed endless, shifting around me like a maze that was constantly reconfiguring itself. The walls closed in on me, the doors I found were always locked, and when I finally broke through, I found myself in another endless hallway. The whispers grew more persistent, more insistent. They no longer sounded like they were just in the walls. They were inside my head, swirling, shouting, begging. "Stay with us." You belong here. There was a part of me that was terrified, but another part, something darker, accepted it. The house had taken me, and now I was becoming part of it, just like the others before me, just like Greg. I heard the familiar voice of my mother calling my name, but when I turned, there was no one there. I was alone, forever.